clock, and Alabama's got 3 timeouts. Dogs lead for the first time. We've been behind for 17 hours. Now we got a lead, but Alabama's got 3 timeouts. Everything now is extremely large. Georgia suddenly has climbed on top. The team on the bench asked the crowd to get in it again. Here's Alabama trying to save themselves. Alabama up to the line. Is this the last time of the day for them? Where does he throw? 3 left and 1 right. He's back to throw. He's throwing long to the left. Intercepted on the 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 35, 50. Touchdown! 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 Inside and came wide open. 68 yards for a touchdown. Part of that new patched up, crippled up, gone, graduated, sunk second.
That's going to cost me every bit of possible monetization on this here video, but it was so great. We watched it last night with all the guys on the Talking Dogs episode. Figured we'd bring it back and re-rack it right here to start the episode, get you guys back juiced and ready to roll for a little bit of NBR. That's right. It's nothing but rings here tonight. A little bit of an addition, a little change for you guys once. A one-time special edition, Nothing But Rings tonight, the show where I bring you topics that I'm rather passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I am hot about. Excuse me. Of course, my name is Brooks Austin. I'm also better known as Lamar Snackson, your humble host. Glad to be here with you tonight. Excited for a great show as we usually are. I know you guys are juiced up. Had to get you pumped up again one more time. Shouts out to the GOAT, Larry Munson. Had to start the show, a little re-rack with him right here on NBR. Glad you guys could be here with us tonight. Let's take care of a little business before we get anywhere else. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good stuff that you're supposed to do over on the YouTube channel. If you're not watching us right now on YouTube, if you catch us on Twitter, wherever you found us, hit us up on YouTube, man. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. And while you're in the giving mood, or at least I should say the subscribing mood, head over to patreon.com/Brooks Austin. It is the place to be right now for a lot of the reasons that we're going to talk about tonight. A lot of coaching movement, a lot of transfer portal movement, a lot of movement up and down, coaching staffs, player rosters everywhere, okay? Recruits as well. Got a big recruiting weekend coming up. So feel free to check up Brooks Austin, or excuse me, patreon.com/Brooks Austin for all that latest and greatest intel. Got a great show for you tonight. We're going to play a little bit of what we call Agent Brooks. We played this time last year, kind of gave the tips that, you know, to people that are going through some of these life changes, right? Some of these changes in career moves that they're going through, right? Particularly coaching movements. I know that's been a hot story today in the Georgia space, so we will attack it here tonight on NBR. And of course, we're going to talk some portal activity. I know you guys are kind of getting a little hip to this portal talk, okay? You better. It's the way of college football. It's the way it's going. So if you're uncomfortable, I'm going to try tonight, particularly for Georgia fans, because that's my base, okay? I'm going to try tonight to smooth things out just a little bit for you. I called around, got some research, and got some numbers for you, some valuable information for you that we gave to the Patreon audience, I think yesterday, that we're going to give you here tonight live on the show. So it's a great one to be here for. But also, as you obviously see through the title of tonight's broadcast, I'm going to tell you the one thing, and I personally think it's the most important thing in terms of sustained success year in and year out, building these quote unquote dynasties. The one thing that can be translated from this 2021 UGA team to the next year's 2022 UGA football team. So I know there's a lot of, hey, look at all the people that we could lose. I know Brooks has been writing these articles, and all these guys are hitting the portal, and he's got the list of players that are either rising juniors, draft eligible juniors, or seniors, or super seniors that could be leaving the roster. I mean, it's looking bad, Brooks. There's like almost 30 names on there. And then you take into account all these portal entries. We got 5 of them already. Oh my God, it's time to panic. Hold off. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight, why it's not that big of a deal, and why the most important thing from this year's football team will translate over, okay? But as I promised, we are going to start with a little bit of Agent Brooks, okay? And all this is, man, we got to talk about these coaching movements, okay? And what's going on, right? Who's leaving? What's the latest intel? I heard somebody report this. Somebody's saying this. Somebody's tweeting about this. This coach going this way, this coach going that way, okay? Obviously, you've already lost Dan Lanning. Okay, these things aren't new to any Georgia fan or any Georgia member of the program, right? Attrition in the coaching staffs happened. Okay, it's going to continue to happen because it's a sign of success, right? And that's become normal. Let's talk about the most important one, in my opinion, other than Schumann. Okay, got to keep him and even Muschamp, right? Let's keep them off the board. They haven't been really linked to any other jobs right now currently, so they look like they might be able to be held on for the moment. So let's talk about Todd Monken, who I think you guys have known, watched my content. You know what I think about him. I think he kind of tailed off, in the SEC championship game and in that national championship game to start the football game, but had a little bit of a rattled offense. We saw that. And I think he played a little safer than he normally does, but that's probably for the better in those situations. But let's talk about him, right? Been linked to a lot of jobs. And of course, I believe it was Bruce Feldman today of The Athletic that came out and said something about him potentially leaving for the NFL. Guys, it doesn't take long through the wiki history to learn what Todd Monken's about. Let me run it down for you, okay? He's been at least a position coach on at least the college level since 1993. Okay, in that time, he's been 10 different places, okay? In the last 21 seasons of football, he's been to 9 different places, okay? It's scattered all over the place. Midwest college football, NFL, Jaguars, Browns, Buccaneers. So 3 pretty terrible franchises unless they got Tom Brady, okay? That's where he was in the NFL. He's tried it out. He's done everything. So history tells you, if you just look at his wiki, again, 9 different stops in 21 football seasons. That's college and pro. Guys, that's a lot of different places over a short or, an extended time period, right? That's an average of 2 new places every 2 years. Math's pretty easy, right? A little bit less frequently than that. But nonetheless, the history says this dude's going to move. So don't be kind of worried about that, because personally, I think when he was brought in to teach modern offense, okay, to convey what explosivity and being able to win football games vertically through the passing game looks like, okay? He is Nick Saban's Sarkisian to Kirby Smart, I think. I think that was what the intentions were. When you came in, made him the 3rd or 4th highest paid offense assistant in all of college football, took him from an NFL, rank, okay, said, come down here 2 years, teach me, or however long you want to stay, teach me whatever it is, and we'll pay you what you want to make, right? I think that was the original intention. So it's no fear right now. It's just about how much you absorbed while he was there. Though, again, there's not confirmed that he is leaving. Money talks. We'll get to that in a second as well. Anyways, history tells you dude doesn't stick around, for a really long time. So let's attack this from an agent's perspective, right? We talked about Agent Brooks a little bit earlier today. Let's give you my opinion. If I were, consulting Todd Monken and said, hey, Todd, here's the facts, right? Not that you're going to listen to me, but here are the facts, Todd. You're 55 years old, okay? You're 55 years old. You've tried the NFL 3 times. Once as a wide receiver before you went to Oklahoma State, a wide receivers coach, rather. Once as a wide receivers coach at Jacksonville before you went to Oklahoma State as an OC, okay? Then you went to Tampa, and then you spent some time in Cleveland, okay? Didn't really work out at either 3 places, despite the fact that your offense has worked out. There were other extenuating circumstances that you couldn't quite control that ended up with your head on the chopping block, especially with Freddie Kitchens in Cleveland. And we all know what was going on with Dirk Cutter down there in Tampa. Maybe you don't. Maybe you haven't followed up with it. It all crumbled. Not anything really to do with Todd Monken. Offense, really, really good in Tampa. Offense, really, really good in Cleveland. Wasn't really his fault. Everything crumbled around him. So you've tried the NFL. It's kind of crumbled underneath you for no other reason than everything else around you was kind of piss poor. You were great at your job, though, but you still ended up looking for a new job, right? So you've tried the NFL thing. Maybe we shouldn't do that anymore, even though that's probably where it looks like he's looking and might end up. Okay. Currently, Todd, you're at a place, as my voice cracks, you're at a place that pays you a tremendous amount of money. Okay. A tremendous amount of money. And there's minimal overhead. Let's just say that, okay? There's minimal bills on your plate in terms of living in Athens. Great place to live, nice southern town, okay? Great place to live, great compensation, all that good stuff, everything you want as an OC, okay? Let's look at talent, right? All those things that crumbled around you in Tampa and in Cleveland and in Jacksonville, a lot of it had to do with lack of talent, right? Or a difference in talent between what you have and what the guys you lined up against on Sundays have. That's never the case at Georgia, ever. Won't be, especially now. Okay, and I don't know if you've kind of followed up on Monk. Monk recruits, don't get me wrong, but it's not like Kirby's asking him to go out here and beat the trail down, right? I don't think that's the case, at least, or else I think I would know a little bit more about it. It's not like I see a lot of these guys everywhere, but Monk just kind of travels around, calls and talks to the Qs that he wants and talks to the certain skill guys that he thinks need his necessary recruiting tactics, right? That's kind of Monken's bag. So it's really kind of a cushy job for $1.2 million. Probably going to get escalated because if you think with a national title, Kirby's going to get a 100% raise with what's going on with the coaching market right now, and all of his assistants are getting a raise, you haven't been really following Kirby Smart around. So if you stick around at Georgia this year as an assistant, boy, your bank account's getting thick, okay? It's going to get thick. So it's a really cushy job, Todd. I mean, yeah, you're the Georgia OC, and it comes with a lot of criticism. A lot of people are going to yell at you. A lot of people that, just because you're not putting up 40 points a game, they're going to think you're trash at your job. But there's this guy, his name's Brooks Austin. Don't worry about it. I don't think you know him, but he does film work, and he glorifies you. So most of the educated fan base will eventually get it. You're a god, man. So we'll just be happy that you're here, and we won't complain at you. If you stick around long enough, maybe his platform will get big enough that he'll convince the whole entire audience that you're good at what you do, and we can just keep you forever and pay you an escalating salary and make you the highest OC in the sport. That's what it could be, or it could be, I want to go give it a shot with the New York Giants and get canned in 3 years because we drafted the wrong quarterback. Todd, it's up to you, baby. It's up to you. Let's move on to the next one. Another guy who it's not going to get quite the it's not going to get quite the response. I just told you that Todd Monk, stick in Athens for a little bit longer, okay? You're going to have a run of really, really talented athletes, and you're going to win a lot of football games and some titles, I would imagine, as well. So let's stick there. You had your shot at being a head coach. You had your shot at being an OC twice in the league. So let's hang out, okay? As for the next guy that's been linked, Bruce Feldman, same tweet today, okay? Jamal Adai, and it is Jamal Adai. Okay, for those who, even though he's been here a year, still kind of struggle to pronounce it. Not your fault. Actually, it is your fault. Jamal Adai, just a little bit of effort. He was an analyst in Arizona 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, rather. Okay, so in 2015, this dude was working in the box, okay, breaking and cutting down tape, studying transfers, looking at high school prospects, calling prospects that coaches didn't want to bother with, okay, doing the grunt work, making no money, okay, living in a whatever apartment in Arizona, young cat enjoying it, I'm sure, but he was still like 33, just grinding to the bone as an analyst 6 years ago, 32, 6 years ago. Okay. He worked his way up out there in Arizona to a position coach. Hard to do. Okay. Most guys go analyst, on field role, DB coach. This dude went from analyst, DB coach, climbed it like that. Okay. Was there at 2 years at Arizona. So from 16 to 17, okay, spent a year at Minnesota, spent 2 years at West Virginia, turning them into the number one passing defense in the nation in the Big 12. And then spent a year at Georgia, okay? This dude in 6 years has absolutely 1,000% climbed to the pinnacle of his position when it comes to coaching defensive backs. He's climbed the entire mountaintop. There is no further for him to go. What's he going to do? Okay, so and he's 38 years old. I'm here to tell you, the dude came to Georgia as a rocket ship in the coaching industry, and he's going to leave Georgia as a rocket ship in the industry. I don't know if it's going to be this week. I don't know if it's going to be next week. I don't know if it's going to be next month or next year. But the dude ain't sticking around at Georgia because the dude's going to be a head coach someday. But in order to be a head coach, we got to be a DC. So, Jamal, if I'm talking to you, baby, if you're listening to me, if I'm your agent today, first Power 5 job we get as a DC, we're gone. 100%. The track for Jamal Adai is to become a head coach. The same, I believe, is to be said about Cortez Hankton. I'm much higher as a coaching prospect on Jamal Adai than I am Cortez Hankton, but let's talk about Hankton for a bit. There's rumors of linking, and they've been around, okay? And I love the folks at Football Scoop. I think they do a great job. But sometimes when you release this much coaching information, I would imagine you're used as a mouthpiece. It's fine. It's 100% fine. Don't get me wrong. So when multiple, and I mean multiple, stories from Football Scoop come out weeks at a time about Cortez Hankton being the number one target on Brian Kelly's board at LSU, Who do you think's letting the world know that that's the case without telling or picking up the phone and saying, hey, Cortez, I know you're preparing for a national title. You're number one on our board. Come hang out. Okay. He can't do that. So, mouthpiece. Okay. They've been talking about it for a minute over there at LSU. We want Cortez Hankton. We want Cortez Hankton. New Orleans native. We want Cortez Hankton. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. That's all fine and dandy. Okay. And now here comes the agent hat. Cortez, you've done a great job at Georgia. And I do think one day you might be a head coach. But here's the deal, dog. We don't take lateral moves. We don't. I don't care if they give you a $50,000 raise and a new title of assistant offensive coordinator. We do not take lateral moves from teams that just won national titles. That's not what we do. We don't, especially when you're recruiting well enough already, okay? And they were recruiting great with a great offense. Now they're going to recruit really good tight ends and really good offensive linemen. That's what Brian Kelly does. Brian Kelly doesn't recruit excellent skill position players, wide receivers, okay? Notre Dame draftees, tight ends, linemen, linebackers. Tell me I'm wrong. I dare you. It ain't quarterbacks. It ain't wide receivers. It's not, okay? There's the occasional TikTok man from Pittsburgh, and I'm not talking 19. I'm not talking Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm talking about the freak, okay? There's the occasional one of those. Most of their draft picks, 85, 90% of them, were offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, and edge rushers. So, yeah, Cortez, we don't take lateral moves. So I don't know if all those things are going to happen, but I will tell you this. Georgia's not – I don't think Georgia's going to lose coaches to lateral moves anymore. I mean, everyone's been trying to get Dale McGee to take lateral moves the last 4 years. What does he do? He just goes in and says, Curb, and most of the time it's Auburn. Curb, they're trying to get me again, man. Like, hey, I can either go because they're offering me a bunch of money, or, you can go have the conversation with AD to keep me around. And it's like, all right, say less. New check, here you go. Like, the budget to me at this point is endless. And it should be endless. I mean, hell, Stetson Bennett was taking shots of $7,000 bottles of liquor after the national championship game. Photos, proofs, they're there. Okay, so the money's been there in terms of the financial availability to go out and pay these guys. And that's the second voice crack for anybody playing the voice crack drinking game at home. We're fighting, man. We're battling. We're battling through everything. Just adversity over here. But yeah, that's a little Agent Brooks talk. Final point: we don't take lateral moves. We don't do lateral moves. Let's talk a little portal talk. I'm not even going to waste time giving any breaks, telling you to like, subscribe, rate, and review, sending you back over to Patreon. I know we got some new folks over here telling you to like the video. I'm not even going to waste time doing that. We're going to roll into the next topic because your boy's gassed. And I think everyone's kind of reaching that plateau, right? Because over the next 2 days, you best recuperate, because Saturday you got to peak again, right? You got to peak again for a parade that I'm sure a lot of you people are going to. So you get your rest right now, and I'm gonna do the same. But we got some more content to bang out right quick, and that's the portal talk. Look, Kirby, I think it was Tuesday morning when he did his last press conference before he left. We're getting real deep in like the voice right now. Before he left before he left Indy, he did one final press availability, and I believe he was asked about, transfer portal, roster movement, things like that. And he had mentioned that they did exit interviews even before the national title game. So they had some of these conversations, some of these tough conversations with some of these guys that were already going to enter the portal, or they'd already had the conversation about entering the portal. So he told you, and he even mentioned, I remember it, and I wish I had the video for it, but he even mentioned that, like, people are going to think it's a bad thing. They're going to be like, oh my God, what the heck's going on? People are going to think it's a bad thing. And sure enough, the guy's smart. Chase Claypool is. The guy's smart. Sure enough, transfer portals open up, right? They get home. They start talking to compliance. Guys start, having their final exit meetings and start requesting transfer papers, right? So you have 5 guys enter the portal in 3 days at this point, right? It's 9/19 on January 13th. The portal has been open for Georgia people because they all did Kirby a favor. Well, they all did themselves a favor and held out until the end of the championship run, right? So these guys, the immediate guys, start rushing to the portal. Their names start coming in, and everybody starts freaking out, right? What's going on? Why would all these guys leave after a national title? So I did some preliminary research today. Oh, we're golden, baby. We are absolutely golden. All I needed was a clear. I did some preliminary research today. I called around, got some sources that I use for these portal entries. And I was just like, hey, man, can you just kind of gauge numbers for me? Can you just kind of, I don't need exact numbers, right? Don't give me exact numbers. Just kind of tell me where we're at in terms of how many guys have entered the portal from, competing or relatively similar SEC schools. So for Georgia, these schools would be like, Bama, Florida, LSU, Texas A&M, right? Those 4 schools, because I didn't have a bunch of time. So I was like, just give me kind of this stuff, right? Give me a ballpark, right? So, since August, because everyone thinks it's a panic, right? So it's an epidemic. Since August, Georgia has had roughly just under around 10 guys enter the NCAA transfer portal. Now, not all of them leave, but roughly around that. And you can kind of track it. If you remember the guys off the top of your head, Trey Blunt, Demetrius Robinson, all these guys. Like, if you remember off the top of your head, you probably get to that number, right around 8, 9, maybe 10. Florida's around that number. Texas A&M the same. LSU creeping up around 13, 15, right? So not terrible, right? Not terrible numbers. You think 85-man rosters, you got 130, a couple walk-ons in there. Walk-ons count, believe it or not. They have to actually enter the portal themselves. So not that bad, right? Bama's had 13 as well, 13, 14, 15, right around that range. Since January 11th, since they got home from the daggum national title, they've had as many transfers as roughly everyone else in the conference since August. So, like, Georgia fans in my mentions talking about, whoa, what's going on? You've had 9, 10, 11-ish since August. Bama's north of 30, I was told, since August. So calm it down, okay? Calm down. If you want to talk about an epidemic, if you want to freak out because the portal's a little too hot, go holler at Alabama. Look, this is what we call roster management, okay? Position allocation, right? Position acquisition as well. There has to be space created. It's the reality, guys, okay? Nowadays, a lot of teams, okay, some of the elite ones are really, really cutthroat with this. I'm not saying that all of those players or any of those players, rather, at Alabama, because it is a rather large number. I'm not saying that any of those players were being asked or told to leave. I'm just saying maybe they were encouraged to do so. That's a drastic amount of people leaving your roster for your roster not to deteriorate, right? That's a lot. 33 is a lot. I don't even know how they got that many. So, yeah, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. There's worse things going on in the world. And obviously, I mean, Bama's had an influx of players, a lot more than any other team in the SEC. And guess what? They're doing just fine. They are. They're doing just fine. In fact, based off the numbers, I would say it's almost a daggum strategy. Okay, almost a strategy. And based off the fact that your head coach made it a point to tell you it's not that bad. I mean, you're going to think it's bad is what he said, which is his way of telling you don't freak out when it happens. It's been planned. Okay. It's not that bad. Some people would say it might be a strategy. Okay. It might be a strategy because you got to make room, right? Got to make room somehow. And we've always told you here, and it's clear as day. They've told you. I mean, Kirby's told you. The portal is for impact players for them. Nobody else. They're not going in there and pulling out backups. It's not what they're doing. They're going in there pulling out All-Americans from West Virginia, all ACC players from Clemson, right? Gatorade Player of the Years from USC's. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're not going out here, picking up the Buffalo linebacker that made 150 tackles. Okay, like I think Mark Richt grabbed a UAB linebacker a while ago. Great story. Think he proposed midfield. Okay. Great story. That ain't how the transfers are working under Kirby Smart. You guys know that by now. All right. So yeah, portal talk, not that big of a deal. Okay. The numbers elsewhere are drastically worse. Okay. Jake Gaines, sit right there. You guys are quick. Connor Sweeney, is that you both times tonight on an answer when my brain just farts out? Was that you twice tonight? Good job, Connor. That's good stuff. Where are we at? we're at that secret ingredient, right? The whole reason all you guys are here tonight, because you see the title and you're like, that guy's good at his job at getting me in there and watching that stuff. Yeah, look, there are a multitude of reasons that Georgia won a national title this year, right? A multitude of reasons. Okay. And for that matter, there are a multitude of reasons, most of which include great players and great coaching. Okay. There are a multitude of reasons that schools like Alabama are consistently not only playing for titles, but winning them. Clemson at their peak, same thing. Okay. These teams and programs that build dynasties, there is one thing that is in common with all of them. Okay. And it was one thing that was very, very adamant and present this year. And you're going to call me cheesy. You're going to call me weird. You're going to call me a coach speak guy, but it is culture. Okay. The winning culture matters. Okay. When you hear the Bama standard, what do you think about? Okay. Because the Bama standard is what has been the keynote of excellence, or the definition of excellence in college football for a decade and a half now, right? So what is the Bama standard? Most people would say, it's just a standard of excellence. That's what it is, right? We got to play up to this standard, or we got to do it to this standard, right? But here's the thing. That's kind of what you had this year, right? Everyone holding people accountable to a certain measure of excellence, right? A certain requirement of excellence, things like that, right? Things like what Nakobe Dean did for Channing Tindall on the goal line of the national championship, right? Correction, right? Participant and active correction, right? From a player, not a coach, but a player. That's what the culture was this year. That, to me, is the quote-unquote Bama standard, right? I can assure you one thing about success, though, right? Just like I told you with the coaching staffs earlier. I can tell you one thing that is guaranteed to happen with success, or guaranteed rather to come with success in college football. Attrition. You're going to lose coaches. You're going to lose players to the draft, okay? You're going to lose guys early. You're going to have your roster turned over at a higher rate than everyone else, okay? Because now with the portal too, people are going to come after your players a little bit harder. Okay. So all those things are true. So how do you go about making sure that even though players leave, championship culture does not? The Georgia standard, right? Because it's no longer the Bama standard. The Georgia standard, okay? How do you ensure that championship standard persists year in and year out? Well, I'll tell you, okay? You look for signs of it and you make sure it happens the next time, right? Okay. It is the Kentucky fourth quarter stand. It is the Missouri fourth quarter stand with the third team unit, right? Because they saw the first team unit do it against Kentucky in the fourth quarter, up 21 points. We're not having it. Fourth quarter, Lewis Cine out there, putting his neck on the line, on the goal line, keeping guys out of the end zone, right? Middle of the fourth quarter, right? So what happens? The players did it, right? They set the example. Well, 3 or 4 weeks later, Missouri comes to town, and they got the first team unit in there. Georgia's got the third team unit in there. And David Daniels sticks someone on the goal line, right? The third stringer, the third string guy behind Lewis Cine. It trickles down, right? This culture of excellence trickles down, right? It's film that's loaded with effort plays. Okay, what's an effort play, Brooks? It's Trayvon Walker. Okay, it's Trayvon Walker running down a wide receiver from Alabama, preventing a 70-yard touchdown play, right? It's those things. It's Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, pursuing with a dramatic amount of effort after a quarterback knowing good and damn well they're not going to catch him unless he stops, okay? Those things, those are effort plays on film. That ain't got nothing to do with talent. That ain't got nothing to do with experience. I don't need experience for you to bust your gut for the football team, right? That is championship culture. It's things like dogs for pups, right? It's player-led initiatives that enhance the community. That ain't got nothing to do with Kirby Smart. He allowed it, right? He provided the platform. All those things. Those things are what create championship cultures. It's the skull sessions. That was Kirby Smart. It's his idea. Get guys together in small groups, have them just talk to each other, have them become better people, have them become aware of what the other one's struggling with, right? It's basic human interaction. You get closer to someone, odds are you're going to work with them better, right? You're going to go to combat with them better, because that's what it is on Saturdays, right? It's a culture of selflessness, right? It's a culture of coach speak. All these things are coach speak, but guess what? In the fourth quarter, national championship, 8 minutes left. You finished. You finally finished. You've been leading Bama for decades. Not quite decades. You've been leading Bama for 5 years under Kirby Smart. 4 times in a row. You've had a lead. You had a lead again finally in the fourth quarter, and you finished. Why? Because of all of these things. It was the fourth quarter stop at Kentucky. It was the fourth quarter 6-minute drive against Clemson. Because guess what? You needed both of them. You needed both of those. The 6-minute drive right before Bryce Young threw the interception, you kick a field goal, was pertinent. You needed it. Okay. And then you needed the fourth quarter stop, right? That ended up into a pick 6. All of those things culminated into a championship effort. And a lot of those things are repetitive. You can do those. That is the Bama standard. That is the Georgia standard. That is the coach speak that everybody hates, that I hated as a player, that now, like, you know, being a dad is getting up every day trying to be better, right? Like being good at journalism is getting up every day trying to be better. That's what it is. Whatever you're doing at your job is doing the things you need to do to give yourself the best chance to win. Like that dude reached the pinnacle of what he does with more coach speak than I've ever seen. And it makes the reason why he's successful. I mean, you preach these things over and over again, and eventually I think they work. They really do. I know, like, I'm just a dumb football guy. I mean, everything I know is football. My life's football. So it would make sense that everything I apply to my life is things that I've learned on a football field and different things like coach speak. But I personally do believe these things work. And if you don't believe me, go listen to any former Bama player that has won multiple titles, because I think the stat is over the last 12 years. If you've committed to Alabama, you've won a national title, at least one during your time there. It's pretty impressive. I don't know if this year's loss might have changed that. No, it didn't, because last year's team won a title. So take that out the way. It's an impressive stat. It's happened. But why has it happened, right? If you listen to anybody talk, you know, that's played at Alabama and has been successful, has gone on to the league and, you know, probably won Super Bowls, you'll hear them talk about how hard they work, right? How much of a player-led environment it is. And it's across like a decade and a half now of football players. It's translated, right? It's always going to trickle down as long as the next guys pick it up, right? As long as the old guys turn around and say, look, this is what it looks like. This is the plan. This is what you have to do, right? And as long as the younger guys can sit there and say, you know what? You're right. I'll do that. And you know what? Now, the most beautiful thing about winning a national title for Kirby Smart, he's got proof of concept. He's got something that is tangible now that says, look, guys, if you just do it the way that I'm asking you to do it, it will breed results. It will make us successful. It will. If you just follow the steps, if you follow the ones before you, right? That's all it is. That's the key ingredient. It is the championship culture. That stuff means stuff, man. It means stuff. All right. Short show tonight. I told you we're going to be in and out. I know you guys are a little bit gassed. Appreciate you guys. Maybe you're not gassed. I'm gassed. Okay. It's been a long one. Appreciate you guys for being here. Like, subscribe, rate, and review before you head out. And as well, head over to patreon.com/Brooks Austin. We appreciate you for being here. See you next time.